Part right here. We're going to work on some more poetry terms today. This is our Poetry Terms 2 video. Please take notes in the Lit Terms section of your writing notebook. Our first terms, again, are imagery terms, and I just have one imagery term for you today. That's personification. This is attributing human details, human attributes to an object or an idea. So notice that we're describing something that is not human in a way that is human. But what I want you to think about when you see personification is not just that a desk is being described as smiling, but what kind of person the object or idea is being described as. That'll lead us to a deeper level of analysis. So here's an example of personification from Romeo and Juliet. When well-apparelled April on the heel of limping winter treads. So here we've got winter being personified as kind of an old man, somebody limping along, ready to die. And April is being personified as a well-heeled, probably woman, because she's probably got some pretty great looking clothes on as she's close on the heels of winter. Here's another example of personification. This one's from the Green Gables letters. I hide me away to the woods, away back into the sun-washed alleys, carpeted with fallen gold glades where the moss is green and vivid yet. The woods are getting ready to sleep. They are not yet asleep, but they are disrobing and are having all of the little bedtime conferences and whisperings and good nights. So we have that personification in the second line here where it says the woods are getting ready to sleep. And if you look at the way that the woods are being described, they're disrobing and they're having all sorts of little bedtime conferences and whisperings and good nights. It almost sounds like the woods are young girls at a slumber party. They're kind of whispering to one another, they're getting ready for bed, and they're really still kind of alive even in the evening. So I think that that's a really nice image as well, and it would lead us to greater interpretation. I have several sound devices for us to think about today. The first sound device I'd like us to think about is called slant rhyme. This is a rhyme in which the end consonants match but not the end vowels. So it looks like a rhyme because the words look like they should sound exactly the same, but it only kind of sounds like a rhyme. That's why it's called slant rhyme. It also is known as imperfect rhyme, near rhyme, or oblique rhyme. So here are some examples for us. That is no country for old men, the young in one another's arms, birds in the trees, those dying generations at their song, the salmon falls, the mackerel crowded seas, fish, flesh, or fowl, commend all summer long, whatever is begotten, born, and dies. Caught in the sensual music, all neglect, monuments of unaging intellect. So here we've got young, and it looks similar in ending to song and long, but young and song don't actually rhyme in terms of their vowels. So that's an example of slant rhyme. Here's another example over here from To My Wife by George Wolfe. If love is a bridge or maybe like a grudge, and time is like a river that kills us with a shiver, then we have all these mornings, then what have all these mornings meant but aging into love? So again, we see that similar consonant ending, but the difference in the vowel ending, the I and the U, that creates that difference in sound. When you see slant rhyme in a poem, what I want you to think about is when you see this slant rhyme, what I want you to think about is if it indicates a shift in the poem. Because what a slant rhyme is an almost rhyme. So if you've got a rhyme scheme or a consistent meter and a poet is using slant rhyme instead of true rhyme, he or she might be trying to tell you that the meaning of the poem is shifting along with the form and the sound of the poem at that particular instance. Your next sound device for today is onomatopoeia, which is one of the most fun words ever to say. It's a word which imitates the natural sound of a thing. It creates a sound effect that mimics the thing that's being described, making the description more expressive and interesting. Sometimes we'll see these words as made-up words in poetry, and we want to be aware of how that word sounds and what effect it produces. So the classic examples of onomatopoeia are bam, zoom, crash, boom, puff, wham. So you've got about 1 million of them right here, and they do all indicate the same sound that something would make if it were going through that action. Our next sound device is alliteration. This is a device in which a number of words having the first consonant sound occur in close series. So when you see alliteration, what I'd like you to think about is the type of sounds that the words make. Are they soft, like sh, 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 or hard? Are they T's and D's that make a tough sound? Is that sound calming or aggravating? That alliteration is going to contribute to the tone of the poem or the mood of the poem, and a lot of times we want to notice where it shifts as well to indicate a shift in the meaning of the poem. Here's a children's version of alliteration. Tex was tickled as he tasted the tarantula's toes. So here the alliteration is really just being used to be pleasing in sound. It's not really contributing to the meaning. Meter is our final sound device for today. It's the arrangement of syllables and patterns in a poem. Each repeated unit of meter is called a foot, and it has a particular arrangement of syllables, and we'll learn more specifically about those in a future video. Scansion is what we do. That's the act of determining the meter of a poem. So what I want you to be aware of today is just places where patterns in the meter change, and you'll be able to hear those and you'll be able to see those, perhaps even in line length. An example of meter is Peter picked a peck of pickled peppers, and what you can see that I've done for you here is I've annotated the hard syllables with this slanty line and the soft syllables with this U-shaped line. And you can see that this pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables repeats itself throughout this line. So that is an example of meter. So today we learned about personification, slant rhyme, onomatopoeia, alliteration, meter, and scansion. And as we go forward today with 2 new poems, I'd like you to take a look specifically for these devices and try to analyze them. Thanks, girls.